This is the Water Your Garden podcast. I'm Sarah Michaels. This episode is all about you, your chance to water your own garden, pour into your own life, and grow. Today on Water Your Garden, we are sitting down with someone who has built an entire career, an entire life really, on one very simple yet very powerful thing, and that is kindness. I am talking about Colin McConnell, known to many as Colin Detroit and Colin 313. He has captured millions of hearts by turning everyday acts of generosity into moments that ripple far beyond the people directly involved. From helping his Detroit neighbor, Donald, and his kids when they needed it most, to biking hundreds of miles to raise awareness for causes close to his heart, Colin has made kindness contagious. Now, I originally met Colin when I was a news reporter in Detroit. I saw one of his videos on social media. I went out to cover it and we became friends. In today's episode, we are talking all about kindness. We're talking about how kindness was so deeply instilled into Colin from a young age, the difference that kindness makes in everyday lives, and also how we can all be a little more kind this week. Colin McConnell, welcome to Water Your Garden.
Thank you for having me. Thanks. This is awesome.
I'm excited. Colin, when I think of you, I think of kindness. And I know I'm not alone on that. I want to get to the root of it. Can you take us back? What was your childhood like in Detroit, and how did that shape you as a person?
I owe a lot of that to my parents. You know, they were excuse me, two of the kindest people obviously I ever met. But I know people say that, like, I had the world's greatest parents, and I feel I did, but I had the world's greatest parents for me. You know, everyone has their own different like scenarios. So I was born visually impaired. My optic nerves infused together. I'm incorrectable, can't have surgery or glasses. So I see the world a lot different than a lot of people. But growing up, I wasn't able to do things my friends were able to do. I wasn't able to play sports and do a lot of fun things. I was told I was never able to ride a bike, and clearly I've proved that wrong by riding around the United States a few times. Yeah, and so what ended up happening is at an early age, my parents taught and got us to spread kindness and to give back when we could. And so while my friends were playing soccer, I ended up going down to a local nursing home and playing bingo and making cookies. Wow. Or we'd come to local shelters, and I considered a lot of the people that were in need and unhoused my friends, you know, because I was there almost every weekend, and we were doing food drive, clothing drive, and board game drives and book drives. And it was so fun growing up to make those a part of my friends and knowing their names. And, you know, Charles needs new shoes, so I made sure to get a giant box of shoes. So it was just them starting that off young and showing me that, you know, the power of our time and power of giving back. And so that's why I just want to keep their memory going and keep them looking down at me and smiling and honoring them by constantly choosing kindness.
Wow. I think that a lot of parents who are listening to this right now are probably taking mental notes. So it sounds like for you, a large part of who you are today is just your parents making sure to put you in situations where you were performing acts of kindness and giving back to the community at a very early age.
Yeah, 100%. My dad would, you know, it's a common saying, but, you know, we're all friends, we haven't met yet. And
I've never heard that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
No, I love that.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it is. And my dad was very social, you know, where he would walk in a room. He's a very large man, and so you just felt his presence, but he would work the room. And as a kid, because I couldn't do a lot of things, I would shadow him. So he did a lot of public speaking for work. So I would watch him work a room, and he taught me how to network. When kids were collecting baseball cards, I collected business cards. Wow. So at like 8 years old, I would go to conventions with him and trade shows, and I would collect business cards, and I would just give him a stack of cards that I got. And he would ask me, he said, now tell me who they are. And I had no idea who any of them are because I just wanted the business card. I didn't care. I'm like, oh, that's one I never had. And like, I mean, I looked at these cards as if they were like
baseball
Kirk
cards.
Gibson. Yeah, I had them in a slot. To this day, I still have the book. You know, I have all the stores from Trapper's Alley, like the
Yeah.
Purple Store and all that in my this binder. And I even was asking business professionals to autograph their business card for me
Oh.
because my dad said, well, he goes, I want you now to tell me every single person. So instead of me collecting all these cards and it being more of a waste, he wanted me to build a connection with them. So I ended up only getting 5 business cards because then I was able to sit with my dad and tell him everything. This is, you know, John Smith, and he has 3 kids. And he started that at a very young age of
Wow.
connecting instead of just grabbing them and basically in business having cold leads. He was teaching me at 8 years old what a warm lead is and connecting. And I owe a lot of that to him. With him, he just talks software. So it was a very boring stuff. So he was a large guy and he'd have like those trigger things like Yosemite Sam socks. And then he'd have a Bugs Bunny tie. So then when they start to drift because it's kind of, you know, mundane, like he would open his coat and there'd be Bugs Bunny and the crowd would be like, oh, that's funny. Or he'd take off his jacket. And then he'd
Smart.
put his foot up on a desk and they'd see Yosemite Sam. And then for the grand finale, he'd bring out this little 8-year-old boy in a suit, and then he would have me speak in front of thousands of people. So
Wait,
it just,
so at 8 years old, were
yeah,
these presentations or what was this?
yeah, it was just quick little things. He's like, and he, you know, and so it wasn't. I only have maybe 2 memories of that, but there are pictures of me like with the suit on, like, you know, that. So it was just kind of. My dad would always think if you could speak in front of a crowd, you can write your own ticket kind of thing. And just
Yeah.
building me that confidence to be able to be in a room and be able to share stories and connect with people, because I just feel that's his biggest thing. And my mom especially was breaking bread. You know, it's just like, let's talk. Like we might not see eye to eye, but like, let's find out like how we can connect and build this thing and see eye to eye in certain things. And that's kind of where I think a lot of people, especially social media, is hurting, is that we're not getting that one-on-one connection like we used to. And that's kind of where I just hope that my social media community, I can connect with people. And when they meet me in person, they could say, you're exactly who I thought you were.
Right.
And hopefully be able to connect and do amazing things.
Confidence and kindness. It's funny that you mentioned that because I've been thinking about what I would really want to implement or teach a child. And when I think about it, those are 2 of the biggest things for me: to be confident, to be able to stand on your own, talk to people, present, but also to have that kindness as well.
And compassion.
And compassion,
Yeah.
yes. I do want to touch on, because we've talked about this before, you know, off camera, just when we've been hanging out. You talk about being legally blind and seeing
Yeah.
the world different than other people see it. Transparently, whenever I'm talking to you, I would never know that you're legally blind. Are you comfortable diving more into that and exactly how things look for you?
Yeah. So what's wild about that is my dad raised me as if it wasn't an issue, and I never realized that it was. And I was constantly taken out of school because some doctor would call my dad and say that like, oh, we have this procedure that could possibly help him. So I was plucked out of school because my dad was excited to try and make it happen. And then I ended up, you know, riding to Ann Arbor or to Cleveland and having these procedures done to only kind of let my dad know that, no, we were wrong. This is not going to help. So what I can explain is that my optic nerves didn't fuse together in birth, and they're pale. So the best way I can describe to people is that the way people see, I assume, is like a coloring book where they have those black lines and then you color the pictures. With me, the black lines are gone and everything just blurs. And I can like I can't see you right now. I just see a blur. But to me, like life, that makes life about energy. Like I can feel your energy, and then a lot of times I don't know somebody until I hear their voice too. And so there's times when I miss out on a lot of opportunities because I have this thing where if someone said, hey, we're at such and such restaurant or bar, come meet us, I won't go because I have a weird thing about walking in somewhere and not being able to find people. And that's very triggering for me. So I choose to just stay at home. And instead of asking my friends like, hey, come get me. And I've been able to go around life with people not realizing.
Yeah.
I don't fake it till you make it, I guess. But
Yeah, I
it
would
was
never know.
when my bike got stolen in Missouri when I was doing my 5,400-mile bike ride throughout the United States. I was in shock because it was literally everything I took. I was stuck in Missouri, misery, and then I was in the police station. I made this video, and I said, "My name's Colin. I'm visually impaired artist from Detroit, Michigan." And I watched that video now, and I don't even recognize that person. But the woman I was dating at the time texted me, and she said, "I'm proud of you." And I was like, "Why?" Like, I am literally in shock. I am crying. And she said, "You told the world that you're visually impaired, and I've never heard you say that." And that what happened is all of a sudden either people could relate because they were, or people didn't realize and then they had questions. So it was able to connect with a lot of people that had similar, you know, handy-capable things. So I ended up being able to connect and hopefully maybe shed some light on the issue of like what I have to go through in a day, you know, with trying to see and navigate through life.
Yeah. I can't imagine the people that you're able to reach by being open about that.
It's
And
wild. That's why my first video that went viral on social media, especially like on TikTok,
yeah.
is it was during the pandemic and it was my parents' anniversary. And my parents are no longer with us. And
Sorry.
me too. And then so I was working at a warehouse during the pandemic, and I was really, really missing them. And it was I went outside on my break, and I told this story about their unconditional love, where my dad didn't really celebrate Valentine's Day. He celebrated his love for my mom every day, and he had this ritual, and where he would come home and we'd hear the garage door open and we'd all get ready for dinner, and he would see my mom and he'd give her a hug and a kiss and then gave her Snickers because that was her favorite candy bar.
All the time?
All the time. And I think a lot of it, like growing up, it was he went to go buy a pack of smoke, get some gas, and he was like, "I'll grab her a Snickers." But the fact that he still did that small act of kindness, you know, and that gesture
Means a lot.
yeah, and it was just this thing, and my mom loved Snickers. So we ended up, and when I got a little older, I said, "Dad, why do you always do that?" And he said, "Every day's Valentine's Day when you're in love." And he's like, "I love your mom." I'm about to cry. Love your mom more and more every day. And so I told this story, and I bit a Snickers bar at the end, and I said, "I miss you, Mom. I miss you, Dad." And I left it, and I went back to work, and then I went home. And it was like, oh, 2,000 views. For me back then, that was insane. Well, today now it's insane, but like,
Yeah.
whoa. But, and then I took a nap and I woke up and then there was 200,000 views. And
Wow.
I'm like, and it was that connection where people could relate to it or they wish they could relate to it. And it was able to connect with this community. And that's what made me want to be a little more real and be able to connect and realize that the algorithm, as much as it's a love-hate relationship, it connects you to people that have similar interests. So that's why I've always wanted to show my face on social media as well, is because I want to, if you're following me, you have similar interests. You love Detroit, you love kindness, you know, or you just appreciate my art. And that's kind of where this community has been a blessing, and being able to be more real and being able to connect with people.
Ugh. Okay, so let's get into it. I want to dive into social media. And I just have to say really quick, I love that story about your parents because I really believe that your life is the sum of the little things every day. And your dad doing that every day, I mean, that's what creates your life by showing that kind of compassion and love every day.
My dad
Creates that
set the
atmosphere.
bar really high, you know, because
I love that.
he loved my my mom so much.
Yeah.
And when my mom was dying, I lived in Atlanta at the time, and I just got to my driveway, and my brother said, "Hurry, Dad's doing CPR. You got to get here." And so it's like with not even flinching, I got to the hospital, and my mom was ventilated, and my mom was tiny, like she was like 5 foot nothing. I think the most she ever weighed was she was pregnant with my brother because he was like 16, 17-pound baby. Like he was a toddler. And so she probably weighed like 110 pounds, you know. And but my dad was huge. He was like 6'3", 300 something pounds. And I run through the hospital doors, and that's the day he died. Like, emotionally, because the love of his life. Like they were in and out of the hospital due to illnesses, so we were kind of used to it, but he knew, you know, and like, so that's kind of where it was just this, seeing this giant man, the love of his life, the way it was hard, because he loved her so much. So damn you. Water these flowers. Yeah. So yeah, it was amazing, and it's been a blessing to be able to see. But my dad and my mom had love for just anybody, strangers. My mom always had an extra plate at the table, you know, for in case some friend came by, and you know, and they always cooked a little extra just in case. And
wow.
And my dad made friends with everybody he met, and it was just kind of that's the one thing. I mean, obviously they had their bad days like us all, but at the end of the day, they were very social, and they loved hard. So sorry.
No, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you for opening up about it. We've established that you had these incredible parents with this once in a lifetime love. They established in you this sense of kindness and giving to others. When was it that you decided to take those acts of kindness and take it to social media? When was the first time you pressed record?
So the record thing didn't really happen until TikTok, because I always
Like pandemic?
Yes. Sorry, I had to think. I'm like, that was 45 years ago now in TikTok years. I mean, in pandemic years. But no, so my, I made your husband cry. He went away. But
Wait, seriously?
No. He's, you know, I'm joking. But yeah, so we, so I always, once social media became present, because back in the day, way before your time, so we wanted to promote things.
Thank you.
Yeah, promote things. We had to put flyers up. So it was if I was doing a charity event, like if I was doing when I was a teenager, if we did a clothing drive, what we would do is put flyers in everyone's mailboxes and say, hey, we're coming back next week, and with trucks, and you know, so any used clothes or food you want to donate, put them on your porch. You know, and we would go pick them up. So that's kind of was our social media, was handing out these flyers, posting them, and then the next week doing the call to action. And then we would drive them down to a local shelter, you know, Pontiac, Detroit, or wherever. And then if we wanted, if I had a charity event, I would put up postcards in coffee shops, things like that. But once Facebook became live to the public, and actually even on MySpace, I was able to do this as well, when they were still around, I realized that I could make one post and it could act as hundreds of flyers.
Yeah.
And I would be saving a lot more trees. So even simple things, and people could give back. It doesn't matter the size you're following. If you want to do a local park cleanup, you can say, hey, I'm going to be buying pizza. If anybody wants to come by, bring your kids. Let's go clean up this park. And if nobody shows, you're still going to go there and clean up a park. But there could be 2 or 3 people. And now there's groups where you could put it in different neighborhood groups and let them know, hey, let's go clean up this park, or let's do a food drive for the community. And that's the power of social media. So I had my really good friend is a little person. I've known him since I was 5, actually. My dad was his scout leader, Martin Clubba from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, he some days, but he was telling me about this charity that he had called the Coalition of Dwarf Advocacy with Matt Roloff from Little People Big World. So he was sharing how he just wanted to get kids adopted who were born with dwarfism, because a lot of times they're given away. Because if you're born in other countries, even born a girl, born with any disabilities, you're given up for adoption, or worse. And I said, well, I want to help you, and because he was so passionate about this, plus if we could get back. So what we did is, right when social media started to become a thing, we created a dwarf versus celebrity basketball game. So we would have local celebrities, a lot of like local news anchors, Mojo in the Morning. We would have TJ Duckett, and a bunch of other Don Reed, who played for the Pistons, and they would perform or play with this team called the Statesman. But we use all our marketing and social media, creating a Facebook event page, connecting with people. And that's how we got all the people there. So then I'm like, man, there's something to show. The larger we can grow, the more people we can help, and more people can get their eyes on what we're trying to do. And we did the event throughout the United States. I think we had like 4 or 5 big events, and we were able to get, I believe it was about 8 kids adopted because of it, and that's amazing to see these parents.
8 lives.
Yeah. It's kids that were in other countries in these crazy situations. There was these 2 boys, we call them brothers, but they're not by blood, that were handcuffed to each other and then handcuffed to a crib so that they wouldn't escape, because they were afraid that because they couldn't walk well, that they would fall downstairs, things like that. Or, my one friend was telling me with their daughter, they would take cribs upside down and put them so the kids almost like as a playpen.
Yeah.
And
Wait, why? Because they can't climb out of the crib.
I don't question.
Story.
That's what they did. Yeah. And that's, that a lot of times, like in that situation, the mom died and dad's like, I don't want to deal with the kids. So they put them on the stoop of the orphanage. And the only play that she had to relax herself was hitting her head against a crib. And like, when I met her, she still kind of rocked back and forth to soothe herself. And it just kind of was like, this is why we're doing this. But it was so much work, even though I was doing most of it by myself, the marketing and the press and all that. But social media was a blessing for that. And that's why I just kind of, now since TikTok, it was more of saying, all right, let's be able to reach more people, because social media did a giant, once TikTok started to become more popular, it became a twist, because in the back of the day, you had to grow your following and you had to grow this community, and then you had to have a big following to get results. And now you could have 10 followers and get a video to get 1 million views.
Yeah.
And it's just hitting the right time, the right people, and connecting with the right people. And that's why you don't need this big following to make a big difference. And that's what the blessing with social media is, where you can connect with people with similar interests.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's and that's kind of when I first met you with the situation with my neighbor. It was, I was not doing well financially, and I really wanted to help the kids. And I just kind of put a call out to my community, because I have this amazing community. I rode my bike throughout the United States a couple times on long distance trip. And my community is what kept me going and helped support me, give scholarships. Before my neighbor, I did a 25 state, 5,300 mile bike ride, and I did acts of kindness along the way. I didn't do any press. I just did it through social media, because I didn't want it to be about me. I wanted it to be more about what we were doing as a community. And that's how not to go off in a tangent, so people in my community started doing acts of kindness, and
so cool.
Simple things like a Girl Scout troop they went and cleaned up a park, and they said, and they tagged me, and they were wearing like Colin shirts and stuff.
What?
It was so cute.
Wow.
And then a lady, I believe she was in Boston, was paying it forward to the people behind her, getting them coffee. And the lady asked, oh, that was so nice. What should I tell them? And she's the one who started, tell them Colin sent me. And then from there, I started saying that like to local businesses, because I thought it was funny, because I'll never be in this small donut shop in Mississippi ever again. So I'm like, yeah, tell them Colin sent you. They have no idea who I am. They'll think it's funny. And then my followers started doing that. People in other countries and Switzerland and were saying, Colin sent me. I was like, yeah, I'll never be at that restaurant. But they were starting to give it back, and they like saying it. So that's how the whole Colin sent me started, because of the act of kindness we were all doing as a community.
Yeah. And
I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, doing this bike ride, and there was a dance school because of what Marty and I were doing. There was a dance school. Marty was filming Pirates of the Caribbean 5, and he was on set, and I sent him this video of this little girl who had dwarfism, and she was in this dance school called A Chance to Dance, and it was done by a beautiful teacher who her daughter had autism and no dance school would accept her. So she's like, well, I'm going to start my own dance school. And I sent it to Marty. Marty texted me right away and he's like, we have to meet them. And it was, he was on the boat with Johnny, showed Johnny Depp this video and stuff. And I'm just like, this is wild. And then I contacted the dance school and they messaged me right away. And I'm like, where are you guys based out of? They're like, Charlotte. I'm like, Marty and I are doing a movie premiere in Charlotte. Like we had no, like it just was fate. Yeah. So we brought all the kids to the movie premiere. We became friends. We had this dance party after with all the kids there was a local establishment that let the kids all come in. They did it, you know, all ages and they danced. We had a DJ. It was so fun. And from that, I was like, I want to keep in touch with them. I did. And so when I did the bike ride, I went through Charlotte. My followers gave enough money to get 19 scholarships to the kids so they can keep dancing.
That's crazy.
And that is the power of social media.
Yeah.
And that's why it was like just a blessing to be able to give back and help along this ride. And then it was those small things where even if someone can't donate, they can still share, they can still like, and they can still comment.
Absolutely.
And that could help get my video to people who want to see it or chose to follow me. And that's why when my neighbor,
can we start at the beginning of that?
Yeah, I was going to say, do you want me to start?
No, I really want to dive into that story. So for those who don't know, I met Colin when I was a news reporter because of this particular story. You noticed something with your neighbor, which sparked like this huge, truly worldwide movement. Talk to us about your neighbor and what you noticed.
So my neighbor, Donald, it's not a secret.
It's in the news. Yeah.
It's
worldwide.
You can Google it. So he moved in, and we never saw each other. It was because he worked, nights, and I was in the day, and it was kind of a little bit in passing. But right when he moved in, it was cold, so it wasn't like we were outside playing and with the kids and things like that. But I met his uncle, his mom, and it started to warm up a little bit. And then I started to see him more, and we built this friendship. But I would just always hear the kids nonstop. I'm in a duplex. They lived above me, or they still do. And just a little pitter-patter of the kids chasing each other to the wee hours because he works nights. So a lot of times when he came home late, they'd get excited and want to play with Dad. And that was his time to play with them. So sometimes midnight, sometimes 2 a.m, they're just running back and forth. And it never bothered me. I think maybe for a minute. But then I realized, I was like, well, he's doing his best and like he's making memories. So I just kind of all of a sudden those feet became almost soothing to me. And we were playing outside and you could just see like the weight of the world on his shoulders. And I'm like, you all right? And he's like, yeah. And that happened a few times. And then finally I just put my hand on his shoulder and I'm like, you okay, man? If you need to talk or you want me to watch the kids and you can go get something. And he said, their mom died. And I don't know, I'm having a hard time.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of when he admitted that. And I said, can I help you? I'd love to help you in any way. And he's kind of hesitated at first, but he's like, well, winter's coming and I don't know what to do. And he has 6 children, but the 3 youngest, they're still little babies. Had passed. Yeah. And I wanted to get the kids winter clothes because I wanted to make snowmen with them outside or have snowball fights and have fun. So I'm like, I didn't have the funds and I was struggling, still am. And I made an Amazon wish list. It was just clothes, boots, gloves. And I put it out there on my social media. I said, hey guys, like this is the story. This is Donald. He has 3 beautiful children. Their mother just passed. And I would love to give them some clothes if you guys want to help me. And from there, people in the comments are like, well, they're going to need this, they're going to need this. They need food. And my community was like taking it on bigger. And but the way Amazon works is I made that post in the morning, and then within hours, there was things already at my door.
Crazy.
And I opened the door, and there's just tons. And I was like, just blessed that there was just a few things. And then everyone's like, and I made a video. I'm like, thank you guys, thank you. I'm gonna go call Donald. And then they're like, no, let's keep it going. Add more things. And people were telling me what to add. Like, I would never think they need bunk beds. And someone's like, sent me a link, said, put this on your Amazon wish list. I will buy them bunk beds. And we got 2 sets of bunk beds because there's 6 kids. So it became bigger and bigger. And then once it got to the point where I did the video of me selfie and showing how much it is,
your apartment was completely covered in gifts.
it was wild. And I
Crazy.
condensed everything too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you get a box and there's this much in it, you know? So I condensed everything. And then I surprised Don. And we decided as a community, they said, ask him and we should just do this for Christmas. So I gave a few things. I gave all the food right away. And I gave a few things like that they need immediately. But the dad and I decided that we're going to keep it all in my house. I personally gift wrapped every single present. I sat down there listening to them run back and forth, playing with each other. Because he didn't really have much, there wasn't many toys up there. It was a giant open space. So then my followers are like, well, they need a toy chest to put all these toys in. They need toy bins. And so it was just turning into this amazing community of people giving back and helping. And we surprised the kids. I wrapped everything. We took it up Christmas Eve. And Santa, my buddy Scott, he likes to help Santa out. So he said, I want to be there for the kids. And he volunteered his time to be there Christmas morning. So we went up and Santa helped open all the presents with the kids. And it was one of the most amazing things. And to this day, I mean, it's now 2 years later.
I think it's been, 2 years.
And the kids still live above me. They're now older and they now realize where I live. Because like they just had no idea. But Don Jr., who has just turned 7 a couple days ago, he will tell his sisters poetry and honesty. Be like,
Love those
you
things.
guys got to quiet down. Colin's down there. Don't want to wake Colin up. And he's just like, he's so cute. And poetry and honesty, it's like, I post videos. I try not post them too much because I want to give them their space. But there's time when I open my door daily, they're outside and I just hear Colin, and I'm definitely uncle now, and poetry sits me on the stairs of the porch and she tells me about her day, and it's just so sweet. And it's just it was a powerful moment. We had people from all over the world contacting us. You were the first person to reach out to us, and that's why I have this bond with you, this love for you.
Thank you.
And I can give you flowers for days. I will water them flowers.
Thank you.
And I think it's just because of I'll share that later. But yeah, so you reached out to us, and then all of a sudden it became this like snowball effect where it was like New York Times, Wall Street Journal. And then my friend was in Singapore, and your video was on the news in Singapore.
Crazy.
And then my friend was in Germany, and there was a German, like hearing our story in German.
Yeah.
And then New Zealand, I was on the news. I was interviewed live in New Zealand a couple times, and it was this outpour of people from around the world all of a sudden also giving back. And that was with us. It was, Don finally realized that it was okay to accept help and to receive help. And then he wanted to share the story because we were hoping that other people would give back and help or be able to accept the help. And I mean, I was getting messages from around the world and of people saying, thank you, for sharing that. I never thought I could accept help. It was a lot of single dads reaching out to me. And I wish I saved a lot of those messages. I would love to share those one day because it was, and that's when I kind of told Don, I was like, this is bigger than us. It was just me trying to help my neighbor, and some people ran with it different ways, and it was definitely a amazing ride. It still is because it's starting to go viral again, and I love it. I love that it can in this dark times and in people's lives, that it could might be add a little bit of light, and that's why I cherish that. And we've done some amazing things since, and it's all because the power of social media.
No.
Yeah.
We heard a lot growing up that if you're feeling bad, one of the best ways to feel better is by giving to someone else. How have you found that to be true yourself?
I actually never heard that.
You've never heard that?
No, I heard
I try to remember
walk
that
it
all the
off.
time. No.
It was yeah, I mean, it is, we never really talked about feelings. You know, I was that generation where it was like, you know, you can't talk to me, you can't talk to anybody kind of thing. And
Yeah.
it was hard. I mean, we were open, like my family, like my dad, one thing he did is he gave us, you know, newspaper articles and, or, you know, sections of the newspaper. We had to pick an article and then read it and then talk about it at dinner. And then he was ask our opinions and, you know, things like that. But yeah, we never really talked about my feelings. I actually have a hard time still this day. And like I'm definitely more of a giver, obviously because of the way I was raised, but I can't receive. Like, that's why I hate my birthday. I hate that attention.
Oh.
I hate that, like, you know, I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want that about me. To me, it's like, I think I don't know why. I like to give back because I think sometimes people might not feel that, like with Donald, you know, it was just, he's never felt like he was, a lot of people feel alone. I'm one of them. I might have, and I've always felt this way, but yeah, it's like add my followers together, close to 900,000 followers, but I feel so alone, like
Oh,
all the
wow.
time. And it's hard. And my thing is trying to make people not feel alone.
Yeah.
Like we are all doing our best, doing my best. But yeah, and I think that's the thing, is letting people know you're not alone. It's sometimes when we're in our darkest, it's hard to be clear mentally, and we feel we're alone. And, you know, everyone's like, you're not alone, but sometimes you just feel it and you can't. But I hope that, like, maybe watching my video, any video, it can maybe brighten your day a little bit. And I know my friend, Lee Ehrenberg, he's in Pirates with Marty. He would always say, like, people are like, oh, how's it feel to be a celebrity? And he's like, I am not a celebrity.
Yeah.
You know, I make movies so the real celebrities, teachers, doctors, fire, police, can unplug for just a little bit of their crazy life and maybe put a smile on their face. And he goes, I am just there to help. And to me, that's what I'm hoping, that, like, maybe they can see that there are people that still are trying to do good out there. TJ Duckett, I use this all the time, and I do want to give him his respect, is he calls himself a rainmaker. And I am just a raindrop. You're a raindrop, and it takes one raindrop to make a flood, and a flood of positivity, a flood of goodness. And if we can all come together as little raindrops and keep spreading kindness, and that's kind of, I don't know if I went on a tangent there, but I think that's what we need to let people know, that when the dust settles, all will be clear. And we need to remind people that there is light
Yeah.
and kindness and good.
Thank you for having the courage to say, though, that at times you feel so lonely, because truly I believe, I don't care if you have 15 million followers online, like, follower count to me, I think a lot of people would think it equates to community, but I think online, like, all these people really are just feeling alone. But I think it is the kindness videos that you're creating that is making that difference. It's helping people not feel that way.
I hope, you know, I know that there's a lot of people that follow me that are in situations where they either can't leave the house due to either medical reasons or whatnot, or they work from home and they're not out as much. I have imposter syndrome big time, you know, and I never realized, like, what that was, but it just, because I know that it's social media, it could be gone tomorrow. It doesn't matter if I have 15 million followers, you know, it's, at the end of the day, I spoke at my mom's funeral, and I always say it's about the dash. It's not about the day she was born, the day she died. It's the way she lived. And there could be kings and queens at her funeral, but there was people there that, like, truly, truly loved her, and that she touched their hearts. And it was the guest book. There was thousands of people that showed up at this little 5'0" lady's
Wow.
house, she had multiple sclerosis. She was stuck at home, you know, majority of the time, but she still made an impact through through her kindness, and her love. She had amazing things. So that's kind of why it's like I know that I get a lot of hate when it comes to using a platform like Amazon because it's so big. But there are a lot of small businesses on Amazon, and that's what I try and put on the list. But I think the convenience of it and the idea that people want to help and they want to give back, but they might not know how. And like I said before, if just liking, comment, sharing is a huge help, and people don't realize that.
Yeah.
But if they can give back in some way, let's say I just did a stuff the bus, or if you're like helping with my neighbor, if someone buys a $2 box of crayons, that is huge because one, you're giving an artist tools to make these beautiful artwork that they can hang on the fridge or at home, and you're a part of something bigger than yourself. So when they see those boxes and boxes of gifts for any of the schools that I've helped out or for my neighbor, they know that they were a part of that. And some people donate bunk beds, but some people donate a box of crayons. But all of it is a bigger picture about a community coming together and helping. And that's why I really like what we've been doing that way, because might be a lady in Florida who would love to come to Detroit or come to any of the other cities that I've been helping out, but they can't, and they give back in the ways that they can. And then at the end of the day, when they see the final result of Santa or the bus being stuffed, they're like, I was a part of that. I made that happen. And that's what warms my heart.
As someone who has built a career off of kindness, what is one thing that all of us can do this week to spread kindness in our own communities? Challenge us. Throw it out there.
Yeah. It's hard. State of the world.
One tangible thing, like what's one little thing we can all do this week to be more kind in our own communities?
Touch grass. I think the biggest thing is check in on friends. I think something powerful is you might see someone on social media that are doing great, but are they? And I recently had somebody reach out to me that is not doing well, but she puts out on social media because she's trying to get a job and trying to, further her career. She doesn't want to put out there that she is going to food banks to get food because currently she's in between. She got let go from her job, which a lot of people have recently, and she's struggling to find a job. And she called me and asked maybe some resources that she could reach out to. And so we had a very powerful conversation and was able to direct, in some ways. But I think a lot of it is just calling your friends. Crazy concept these days, because everyone texts or they like a comment. Just calling and saying hi. I think that's powerful. I think the power of just saying hello to people, because in this world, I love Detroit. And the biggest reason why, ever since I was little, was the community and the kindness of people. Just like, if you ever are in Detroit and you are down, go on the Riverwalk at sunrise. Yeah. That is my therapy. I ride my bike on there, and shout out to all the walkers on the Riverwalk because they're always saying hi.
They're always so jovial.
So nice. They were having a full-on conversation about whatever it is, and they'll stop and be like, "Hey, baby, how you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm great." Like, and I'm like the meme of the kid, which is actually it's my nephew, but my nephew's a viral video. If you look up Mernon kid, that's my nephew because he roared like a dinosaur. And my sister is so calm. She's like, "Good morning," and he's like, "Mernon," and it's me, because you see somebody, especially on my bike, I'm like struggling. Everyone's like, "Good morning," I'm like, "Mernon," and then now I'm like, "Good morning," I'm like, because they brighten my day. And so I think just those little things, because you don't know what anyone's going through, but they try and they're doing their best to put a smile on their face. And there's times when I was very dark mentally, and those morning walkers brighten my day. So I think a lot of it is just taking the time to spread kindness. I know a lot of times it seems, especially on social media, that hate is winning. And the thing is, at the end of the day, whatever faith you are, you know, the goal is to spread love and to spread kindness and to listen to each other. And I think a lot of times that is lost. And there's times when my mom passed, someone sent me a card and it said, "When the dust settles, all will be clear." And sometimes I know life is so dusty, I cannot see the world that it's for what it is. And then once that is settled, it's clear, and I'm able to think hard. So sometimes I have to walk around and say, all right, it's going to settle, deep breaths. And I think sometimes you need those people in your life that are the light that will show you that it will settle and that it will clear up the dust. And so, yeah, I think reaching out to friends, maybe, when you are wanting to post something hateful, or you wanting to comment on something hateful, I think maybe take a breath. I've done that since I was little. Like, if I was angry at somebody I was dating, I would write a letter, and then I'd take a walk, and then I'd read it, and I'm like, take out this, take out that, and then take another walk or go to bed and wake up the next day and be like, what was it, So I think thinking before that, but I think a lot of it is just being there for each other, and no matter what we see eye to eye, I think we can find a common ground that we could live on this rock, or if you think it's flat or round, and let's just spread kindness. And yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is being there for each other. Is I always think you can't spell community without unity, and I think we need to build a community of things and being able to help each other. That's Mr. Rogers would always say, look for the helpers, and that's where I want to be the person that people may look to, and I think we do need to find those helpers more and more, and try and connect people and be there. So I think so. Yeah. A lot of different things, but I think that, and then supporting small businesses. You might not think you can help, but sharing their social media and letting people know that they have the best customer service or the best food, and helping them because they are struggling just like all of us. And so, yeah, supporting one another, either whatever way that might be, and realizing that social media is powerful. You might have 100 followers, but you do have 100. That's 100 people that can help and could do a food drive, a clothing drive, like I said, I just did this Stuff the Bus thing, and it's like people came from all over, and we were able to give these things. We did. There was a teacher in Southwest, which you did a story on, and thank you for that. Where I asked my followers, I'm like, let's help a teacher, and it turned out, we did not just help this teacher, we helped the entire school. I was hoping to get a few school supplies for her classroom, and we got 300 backpacks, and we got markers for years, and crayons for years, and cheerleading uniforms, because she started a cheerleading program, and they didn't even have uniforms. And now future generations of cheerleaders will have these uniforms that they can wear because of this community that we've built. So it's a lot, but yeah, it's pretty amazing.
You are constantly sharing these stories of kindness and gathering people in this way on social media. If we're not already, which I'm sure many of us are, how can we follow you and see more of your acts of kindness?
Colin Detroit. When I created social media, it was just that, my name's Colin, I live in Detroit. That's kind of was that thing. So it's pretty much along the line. I know Colin313 on TikTok, but if you do look up Colin Detroit, you'll find it. But that's, if you want to be a part of the community and be part of the change, it's I came up with this 13 years ago now. Be the good in Detroit, believe there's good in Detroit. And it's still relevant, I think, to see the change and to be the good, not just in Detroit, but in your own community. But yeah, that's the best way to find me. And I do want to give you your flowers alive. You can cut this out if you want.
Thanks.
But, and I've told your very muscular husband.
Oh, he's gonna love that. He can talk about it all
day.
day.
Yeah, no, he's a sweetheart, and I felt he's definitely. And I'll give him some flowers too, because he could kick my ass. But sorry, but no, he's got amazing energy, and to see you two together warms my heart. Because he seems like a sweetheart, and then the way he looks at you, he loves you. No, I'll keep it going. I'll make you cry for ratings. But that was amazing. The second I met him, I felt that. Yeah. And with you, one of your former, what would you call it, like employee? Coworker. Thank you. I'm self-employed. I don't know what coworker. Stephen Clark. So and I'll share the story about this. He did a thing called a back channel, him and Charlie Warburg from TEDx. So Steven, and this is not, he put this out in the universe, but he was very depressed because all you do as a news reporter is you're posting all these dark,
really
horrible
hard.
things that are out there. And it is hard.
You're talking to people on the worst day of their life. Like 5 days of your work week could be speaking to someone on the worst day of their entire life.
Entire life. Like, I mean, my friend was a nurse in an emergency room.
Yes.
She's working on this guy.
Yeah.
And then they saved his life. He got shot. And then she looks on the TV and he unalived little children. And she's like, I just saved his life. And like, you're like, here I am, like, you know, they're in the studio and they're like, and it's Sarah. And you're like having to give this news or interviewing somebody, like you said, on the worst day of life. And Steven told me he was starting to get so depressed that he was gaining a ton of weight.
Mm-hmm.
He was, like we mentioned, in a very dark place mentally. And back then, like, because you see it now, but back then you weren't allowed to have phones or iPads on the tables of the newscast. So he had this, I believe it was a Nokia, and he just tweeted out there, anybody there? And I believe it was Charlie was the first one to see it. He's like, yeah. He tweeted back at him, and he's like, and Charlie's like, is this really you? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, prove it. He's like, what do you want me to do? He's like, flip a pen in the air on the air. So he's like, okay. So he's talking, and then he just flipped a pen. And he's like, oh my gosh, it's really you. And then he created this thing called the hashtag back channel. So it's the first when Twitter first came around. And so we'd all get on this back channel, and we would interact while the news was going on. And Steven was doing his best to keep the phone under the table. But it became this community of people saying, what's going on in Metro Detroit this weekend? Like, how can we help? And people were like, hey, I need help. And everyone in the back channel is getting back. And Steven's interacting. And then eventually he put the phone on the table. They let him put it on. And then eventually it became an iPad. Then he was shouting people out, hey, back channel, live on the air.
Wow.
And the biggest reason why I did it was he's like, please share positive stories. Because he was so exhausted, you know, giving these horrible stories. Then they were starting to share the positive stories on the news. And then you could see him transform in losing weight. And he was a lot happier. And then you see people all over the United States having iPads on that thing. And with you, you have this amazing energy about you.
Thank
and
you.
You are one of the sweetest people. You're like a mermaid. Like, you know, you got this
Thank
flowing
you.
hair. You're always smiling. You're the Disney princess of news anchors.
Wow.
But
Quite the compliment.
but the thing is, like, through all this dark time, you are always finding the good and the positive in people and in stories, and you're trying to share that and get their voices out in any way they can. And I appreciate you for that, and I appreciate you still doing your best, because I know it's got to be hard in this time. And I appreciate every time I see your post, no matter what it is, it always puts a smile on my face and in my heart, and I appreciate you. So I just want to give you some. I want to water the kindness of flowers to you. I think we need to embrace people in our lives more and need to let them know that we care about them and we love them. And you're amazing. So, and I'm blessed to have met the person that makes you smile.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is what you do, Colin. You make people feel special, and you bring that kindness.
Special.
Thank you.
And that's where, unfortunately, we don't until they're gone. You know, they say
Yeah.
most men don't get the flowers until their funeral.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's where it doesn't have to be a physical flower. Like this show, we're not really watering anything.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we are. You know, we're building this garden of a community of people that are helping and wanting help. And I think the thing is, the more people that are here to plant roots, plant flowers, and spread love. And I think we can give flowers not just going to a store and purchasing them, but we can also let people know that they are appreciated. So yeah, I think you're doing amazing, and I keep it up. I know it's gotta be hard, you know, like I'm sure you're on some what do they call them, runs, when you do stories, or you do some stories, and
Yeah.
it's gotta be hard. And but you always will find those little things, and I followed so many people because of the stories you're doing, and
Thank you.
and because of you. Like when I did the act of kindness for the teacher in Southwest Detroit, you're the first person I thought of, because I knew you would be able to show the story the love that it deserved. And you did, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. No, truly, you got to the heart of what all of this is so much. It really was. I always wanted to highlight people like yourselves, and I've always wanted to highlight the positive things and the voices that can make someone feel better. And truly, the name Water Your Garden, which just ties perfectly because this is the last question I ask of every show. The precipice of Water Your Garden is you take a second to pour into yourself and water your metaphoric garden. But also from your interview and hearing from you today, people can take your acts of kindness and your advice and they can pour into themselves and they can feel their best and they can feel like they're blooming. So that's exactly what the show is. And that's why my last question of every show is always, how do you water your own metaphorical garden? Like, what do you do for yourself to pour into yourself and to feel your best?
It's hard.
Could be
Not gonna lie.
anything. It could be yoga. It could be having a beer on a
Actually,
Friday. It could be
I
anything.
almost started. I'm like,
It literally
it's
could.
all whiskey.
No, be honest. Like if it's a nice
No.
meal, it could be a nice meal.
It's plants, not the good one. No, I'm kidding. Honestly, my nephew, being able to see him grow, and become the man he's becoming, he's such a sweet soul. I know he's a teenager, so he's doing that. Like I'm not as cool, even though I am. Just kidding, but it's just, to see him around kids and the elderly. It's truly, he's a very special one. I think with me, it's being on my bike. Being told my whole life I would never be able to ride, and then I've figured a way. I mean, I've been hit by a lot of cars. Not gonna lie, some weren't moving.
And you're not rich.
Yeah.
You never called Sam.
No.
You never. No.
Do you know where I live? Most people hit and run. I've called Sam a few times and nothing. Not Sam. Sorry, they follow me on Instagram. Shout out. No. I have tried, but there's nothing. I mean, once they're not there. I've learned how to roll over hoods. But I think the thing is though, that's why I do my long bike rides. Like last summer. So my friend Nate, I know this was your last question, but you can cut out whatever you want. I could talk for days.
But here we go.
But I have to give him his flowers. This Nate Simon. He is in Chicago. He's a content creator. I connected with him originally because he has, I believe there's like 3 older brothers and an older sister. And the bond between him and his sister, they were so fun. Like, he's got Down syndrome. And he's my homie with the extra chromie. And he...
That's so good.
But the banter between him and his sister... Like she'll say something, she's like, and he'll just be like, "Why can't you find a boyfriend?" And it was so cute. And then I connected with his mom, she's such an amazing soul. And so during the pandemic, they were at a department store. I won't give them a shout out because they're not sponsoring you. And and he's looking at this picture, and this is why I believe DEI is so important. But he's looking at this picture of this girl with Down syndrome. And he's just staring at it. So his sister puts on her phone and she's like, "What are you looking at, Nate?" And he goes, "She looks like me. It's the first time he ever saw a model with Down syndrome." And she's bawling her eyes out. She's like, "Oh my gosh," And it went crazy viral. The store it was at reposted it, and then People magazine. And it just got bigger and bigger. Then from there, Nate was in LA Fashion Week. And now he is representing these things. And then he said, "I want to start my own clothing line." And he started it's called 21 Pineapples. It's for 21 chromosome, and pineapples meaning welcoming. And
good.
Right. And then he got to teach this the kid with Down syndrome what swingers are, because everyone's like, "What's it, 21 swingers?" So now when interviews, he's always like, "It's not swingers." So then he
He's got to put that out there.
Right. And from there though, it's like he's now doing photo shoots with kids with Down syndrome, kids with different disabilities. And his goal is to get so big that he can hire them to work for him. And so one day I called, I was supposed to ride my bike around the United States. I was going to go from Detroit to Seattle because there's a bike path that basically goes almost the whole way. Then I was going to go to Seattle, LA, and then come back Route 66. It would be 7,600 miles. And I was going to do events along the way, raising funds for local charities, things like that. And I told Nate I was going to wear a Hawaiian shirt, one of his Hawaiian shirts throughout the ride. And unfortunately, my sponsors backed out, and it didn't work out. And I couldn't do it by my own financially. And I was starting to get depressed. I was eating my feelings, and then I was a little.
We've all been there.
I'm still there. Damn you, Oreo. But yeah, so Nate all of a sudden texts me. He goes, "Are you still gonna wear my shirt?" And I'm like, "Oh." So from there, I wore one of his Hawaiian shirts, rode my bicycle from Detroit to Chicago and back, and we raised funds for Special Olympics of Michigan. And I was able to hang out with Nate, and we did a meetup, and like 40 people showed up, all in Hawaiian shirts, and we was able to connect and have a great time. And the first 2 days were obviously hard because I wasn't in the shape I should have been. But the third day, I was riding in the middle of cornfields. Some guy was working on his farm listening to T Grizzly, which I'm not kidding. It was the craziest thing. I was like, Detroit is in Indy, and mentally, it got me to the point where I needed to be. Like, all of a sudden, the dust was settling, and I just ride. I don't listen to music. I listen to the corn waving, and I hear the birds, and I was at my happy place. And that's why I ride the way I do, because it's finally I can clear my head. I can have thoughts. When I ride, I talk to my parents, and I have full-on conversations. It's my peace. I talk to my friend Matt, and who unfortunately passed on the anniversary of my dad's passing.
Jeez.
And then I talk to people that are alive too, having conversations with them, and good or bad, but it's just kind of like it's my peace. And that's like the other last couple of days ago, I rode to Ann Arbor and back, and it was just to get that mental clarity that I needed. So that's my nephew and my bike are my happy places.
Amazing.
Thanks.
Colin and Nate.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for doing this for people,
No.
giving people a voice, and hopefully we can put a smile on people's faces in a way, the way we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Colin for coming on the show and for gassing Connor and I up. We loved that. Share this episode with someone who you think could use a little bit of inspiration in their week, or, of course, a bit of kindness. I know that we can all use that. Thank you so much for watering your garden with me. Love you guys.